All right, welcome back for another episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books that are still probably tucked away in those boxes at your LCS or at shops, wherever you're doing your comic book hunting. These aren't the hot books that everybody's searching for. They're not on any hot 10 lists. These aren't based off of any recent news, rumors, that kind of stuff. These are just interesting books that are probably either underpriced, undervalued, still just tucked away in those boxes that you might be able to liberate for your collection or for a decent flip if that's what you decide you want to try to do. That all said, hopefully you're still enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. We do have a giveaway coming up. Well, actually, multiple giveaways coming up this December as we're going to be doing 12 Days of Christmas. More info to come on that, probably on this Wednesday's tax show. So make sure you join us live on Wednesday. We'll be doing another Wizard Rewind as well as probably introducing this giveaway idea that I have. So 12 Days of Christmas, and you could probably guess what we're going to be doing. But that all said, hang on for a few seconds after the intro if you want to see this week's books, and I will be right back. Okay, as per usual, we are going to start off with our quick artist retrospective. Yes, last week the entire show was really based around Jim Lee. We are not doing that again. We're just going to do the artist retrospective segment and then kind of move on into our other random categories as per our usual routine. Hope you're down for that. That said, our artist today is somebody that most of you probably are not aware of and probably don't know. I had the benefit of talking with him for a few minutes at Baltimore this year with Marco, and he's a very, very interesting dude. And who I'm speaking about is Jeremy Bastian, who you might know from Cursed Pirate Girl. That is probably his biggest claim to fame. His art is so intricate, so detailed. The pinpoint accuracy is just phenomenal to look at. And if you want to check out some of his stuff, make sure you go check out his site here, the art of Jeremy Bastian. There is a lot of like prints and like those kind of cloth banner type things for sale. I'm not saying you have to buy anything. I'm just saying go take a look, check it out, because again, the level of detail on this stuff is phenomenal. Like, this is not doing it justice. You have to really see it like in person and in your face so you can zoom in and close up on like the detail line work here. It's just, again, it's insane the level of detail that are in some of these pictures that he draws. And this is all done like one for one scale. He doesn't work on like a big, big easel or larger print. He works on the scale of the book that he is selling or the print that he is doing. This is what he explained to me when we were talking with him for a bit there at Baltimore. And to me, that makes it even more insane that this is at this level, like that finely detailed, so precise. It is crazy to me. Looking at this picture here, we just zoom in on a few different areas where you could just see some of the detailed work. Again, you can't really get, it's not doing it justice. I'm trying my best to get in as close as you can to really see the fine lines, the fine little markings all throughout this, the wood, the textures, just everything there. It is just, again, it's insane. It's insane the level of detail here. But just looking at some of this stuff, it's phenomenal. Granted, he did admit it does take him a while to get through this. This isn't a quick process. He's not banging out a page a day like a lot of other artists. Like he said, that certain pages, like they might take him 2.5 weeks just to finish. But he gets to work at his pace with the publishers that he's working with these days, so he can get the work out that he's proud of, that he wants to produce for everybody. And I gotta, that's commendable, absolutely commendable. But again, look at this. Look at this. It's insane. This is how much I have to zoom in to show you guys just the level of detail. Look at the little scales on this alligator. Look at the scales. They're each individually hand drawn. It's again, it's bonkers. But that said, some of these books are very, very tough to find. Again, my buddy Keith told me about him as an artist a while back. I had no idea, and he kept trying to sell me on this idea. Like, this guy's the best. Like, he's like, you got to see this guy's work. It's crazy. And I'm like, once he showed it to me, I agreed. And Cursed Pirate Girl is not an easy book to find. Definitely not easy to find, especially if you want to go looking for first prints. Here is the first print for number 1. Sold copies, as you can see, we don't have any. And what's available? This is not even a regular copy. I got to qualify this one, but the only one I could find is an advanced copy that was limited to 100. It has that special stamp there on the front that's asking about $1,900. So it is a bit of an enigma. So this is a bit of an albatross as far as our search goes. So to get you the real pricing, I can't really give you a good sense because this book is just insanely hard to find. I mean, I could have been doing this on Chasing Ghosts, but we're doing it here for the artist retrospective. That said, multiple versions of this, printings, I should say. Here you see the second edition. It has this little red stamp right here on the front where you can see it that this is the second edition. So it's clearly identifiable. $4.95 when it came out. Again, Olympian Publishing, fantastic detail. But I couldn't find any sold copies recently. But I did find some second prints available. And as you can see here, they aren't cheap. They can go anywhere from about $100 to $300. It does have that gold foil, where I think the first print had a silver foil for the trade the trade dress, the title. And then you can see there's a 9.8 asking $220. So the pricing is a little bit inconsistent as to why like that raw is so much more than the 9.8. But again, this is just not an easy book to find. Any of these printings, none of them are easy to find. And then we get to a third printing of this first issue, and it's got a different cover. Once again, it looks like it has some of that gold foil at the top, but definitely a different cover, which is new and refreshing for some of these later printings. But once again, I couldn't find a copy sold. So I don't know what the market is actually moving on these things because again, there's not many. There was only one that came up, and it's looking for about $64. So again, if you can somehow stumble into one of these in a box and you just had no idea what it is, and you see like, what is this like aged, like weathered looking coffee stained paper? It could be a Cursed Pirate Girl, and any of them, and even find them in a cheap box or even in any box, as long as the price is right, I would consider them personally. So you're just not going to find these things, not on the regular. And here is the final. This is the fourth. Well, I shouldn't say final. This is the fourth printing. Different cover image again. Pretty cool. It's got that red trade dress in this case. And there was this copy that sold for this, $71 for a PGX 10.0, but it's like a green label PG. I don't know. It's PGX. Does it matter? But there is a copy for $71 with 9 bids at auction. So this was back in October. Somebody got a pretty good deal, I would think. Like, I don't see this book around, so even a PGX, I'd crack it out of that, and hopefully, the book's all right inside. But that said, there are available copies of this one, but yeah, some of these are kind of crazy. Again, you can see, I don't know if this is that same PGX copy, but there is a PGX copy asking for $12,000. I mean, that's a ridiculous ask. That's probably not going to come through. But outside of that, look at the 9.8 there, asking $850. And then you have Raws looking for 150 to 175. And that one with the 150 has the newer book that you can basically still find for cover price with it. So it's really, that price is based off of that fourth print number 1. So 150 to 175 raw, 850 for 9.8 seems more like the appropriate range of the norm, I guess you would say, and not that 12,000. But that all said, this fourth printing does have another edition that was released only at San Diego Comic-Con. So we have the San Diego Comic-Con edition, which has like that kind of like a gold printing. It's limited to 80. It's stamped right there on the front that there are only 80 of them. And I couldn't find any sold or any available of this edition. But just know that it exists. So keep an eye out for it. Maybe, I don't know, you find one of the 80 that exist out there. Maybe you get lucky. If you have any of these or you have any of these, please tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see it. I love when you guys share collections, because I'm a collector too. So I like seeing when people actually have some of these strange and odd books in hand. That I'm not the only one looking for these, and these do exist in others' collections. So tag me. Moving on, getting through some more Cursed Pirate Girl here. There was a 0 issue that came out after the number 1. So there was this. You can check this one out. It's got, a little bit of a glimpse, some behind the scenes interview type stuff in there. I think it has some of the, I'm not sure if it reprints like the stories that were released before the solo series. We'll get to more of that in a second. But this number 0 is another book that's, again, it's just tough to find. There's none sold that I could find, but there was one available without a picture. So they had this little standard book guy picture, but they didn't have a picture of the actual comic because it's being sold, I think, by a bookstore, and they want $70 for it. So if you're interested, that's the only copy available, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get because they don't have a picture. But this is probably the book. This is what they're probably referring to with the issue 0 because this is the only one that I'm aware of. Now, there is also issue 2 of the series, which is, again, this is a 3-issue series, mind you, for the original one. Again, same style, same art, same level of detail. There's fine pencil work, inks. It's just mind-blowing. Copy of this sold in October for $125. So $125 for issue 2. As I said, any issue, it's not just number 1, any issue is worth getting if you can find it for a decent price. And many shops might not have any idea what this is, and it's just going to be priced as some random nonsensical indie book that nobody cares about, and they'll charge you cover price, maybe even less. So go digging. You never know what you might find. That said, available copies of issue 2, the first printing of it, are also up for about $125. So only 2 copies I could find, and that's about the price asks for that one. Now, moving on, there was a second print for issue 2 as well, as this cover here. Once again, detail in the art is just ridiculous. But copies sold of this sold for a more reasonable $25, and then a best offer on $35. So all right, now it's coming back into a range that maybe some of us can actually see and maybe partake. And available copies on this one, well, a little bit higher than what's sold, 35, 65 thereabouts. So still decent prices on this second print of issue 2. And then we have our final issue 3, the last issue of this original run. Here, going back to that more of a, that aged looking paper, because again, it looks like a scroll. It looks like pirate paper. It looks like there's going to be a map somewhere hidden on this thing, and the level of detail is just, again, ridiculous. But no copies have sold either that I could find of issue 3. It's just another one of those hard to find things, I guess. But there are copies available. But just like issue 2, they're looking for $125, and then there's also a 9.8 asking for $180. So that's what's on the market if you are out there shopping for it. Now, those are issues 1 through 3 of the original run of Cursed Pirate Girl. There was also an annual, I think, came out in about 2015. 2015 annual. So there is this one, and here we get a little bit more color added to the printing. We got some red popping here, and this book's a little easier to find potentially for you. So you can see copies only sell for about $8, $10, $15 thereabouts. Asking prices again are in that kind of 8 to 18, and then there's one up for $50. So again, inconsistent on the pricing, but this is the 2015 annual that you might be able to stumble across. But your best bet, if you're interested in at least just checking out Jeremy's art, is getting the recent issue that just came out. It came out within the last year, I would say, a few months ago. And that's this one right here, the Devil's Cave. Again, level of detail is still top notch. It's still there. There is this is also out of Archaea at this point, and there is a 1 in 10 incentive that's black and white cover. If you guys saw my Baltimore pickups, I did pick up the 1 in 10 out of a variant box for I think like $3. So I was happy to find that. I was happy to find the regular edition, because this is like a $6 book, like cover price. This isn't cheap because it's thick. The paper quality is top notch, and again, the art is just fantastic. So keep that in mind too if you go to a shop to find it. That the cover price is a little bit more. It's not a $4. It's going to be about like $6, I think. But still, well worth it to me, in my opinion. And you can see copies even online sell for about that $4 to $7 kind of range. So it's not like it's a crazy high or expensive book at this point. Who knows where things might go? I don't know how many were printed of this edition, but I got to imagine it's a little bit easier to find than those original runs from like, and again, I think that book originally came out around like 2009. They're about like right around that 2010 kind of range. So give you a sense of how long this has been around. It's been about a decade that Jeremy's been doing this work. And you can see here, as far as available copies go, whether it be the regular edition or even the 1 in 10, prices are pretty much the same. It's like $7 to $10. So I don't know. Personally, I like incentives, especially on a book like this. And how many do they possibly print for that to be 1 in 10s? So just for the randomness alone, I wanted a 1 in 10 and I got one. But at these prices, maybe I'll get another one. For $7. Why not? But that's it. the first appearance. Let's go back to the original first appearance of Cursed Pirate Girl, and Jeremy Bastian's original creation goes back to this Voices book, which looks like it was limited to, I think, 300 copies when this came out. It's like an anthology. You can see it's got multiple different stories here with different artists with telling their original stories, and this would be the first appearance of Cursed Pirate Girl. As you might guess, there were no copies sold, but surprisingly, I did find a copy available, and yeah, it's expensive. It's raw, and it wants $2,200. But I mean, it's just one of those things. If you are a fan and you are a collector, and hey, there are a lot of fans, there are a lot of collectors that it's a niche kind of thing. The dollars are there. As you can see, some of these books sell, and they sell for a good deal of money. So it's not like an unknown. There are people who do know, and they do pay. So just keep that in mind. If you somehow could stumble into this thing, into a box, you might have found yourself a nice little treasure, nice little hidden gem, if you will. But outside of this, which is the first appearance, there was also some other interior work that Jeremy Bastian worked on throughout the past decade or so. So let's just kind of touch into some of that. One of them is a Cursed Pirate Girl story, I believe, inside the ye old lore of yore, and then also Mouse Guard. He did a little bit on Mouse Guard, the Legends of Mouse Guard, and he even did a little bit inside the Guild. I don't know if you remember that little series the Guild had. Was it Felicia Day? Back in the day, they had the whole gaming kind of thing, and it was kind of fun. Little shorts. I don't know if it was on Xbox or where those things originally aired, but then there was a comic series too. So there's a one shot for Tink. So in that one shot for Tink, there is also some Jeremy Bastian art inside. But we're going to focus in on the and again, that's not an expensive book. You probably find it for around cover, which is about $350. It's something you can find out there. But let's look at this ye old lore of yore. If I'm saying that right, because this book is another one. If you find it, you might have found yourself a little something. Copies of this sell for about $100. You can see there's 3 examples of it, where it's basically around $100 that this would sell for. And available copies, I can only find graded copies, and I think these were green label signed ones, looking for $300 to $400, and then there's a yellow label 9.8 asking for $500 because I think Jeremy will sign his art and sign this stuff, and yeah, a lot of times if you don't have a witness, CGC is not going to give you that, or even CBCS. CBCS might give you that qualified yellow label, but CGC will not give you a yellow label if they don't have a witness. So you're going to end up with that green. So just keep that in mind as well. I'm not a signature guy, so to me, I usually avoid those just because it just doesn't interest me, and I don't want to pay a premium for a signature that I didn't really want in the first place. I'd rather, again, do like I did at Baltimore and just spend a few minutes talking with the artist rather than just getting something signed so I can show off to somebody that I got a signature. I don't know. It's just not my thing. That's just not my thing. I'm not judging. It's just not for me. But that said, let's kind of keep moving here. There's a few more things just to kind of point out of things that Jeremy's worked on, including the B cover. So this Boom run on Judas. Yes, it's that Judas. So we're getting that story here. And this is the regular cover. But he did all the B covers, which, once again, feature that detailed, fine-tuned, finely detailed, pinpoint accuracy, pencils and inks. Like, this is just insane. Again, you just got to really look into these. That was issue 1. Here's 2, 3, and 4. It's just really, the level of detail is off the charts. But again, I think I've praised enough. You guys got to see it for yourself. Hopefully you can find something out there. Even if you don't buy it, just take a look if you can. Just give it a chance and give it a look, because it really is astounding. But that said, here is issues 2, 3, and 4 it's like $10 they sold. So a few issues randomly sold for $10, and it looks like they had a couple of the B variants included in there. And then you can find available copies really only about like $3 to $4. And then look, there was one asking for like $12, but still not super duper expensive, but something you want to keep a lookout for. And probably one of my favorites that Jeremy Bastian has done is our next book, and our last thing I think I've got for this segment. And this is a variant. This is a 1 in 15, and this is for Labyrinth. And I have this. I found this at local shopping. I found this at Stormwatch in one of their sales, and sometimes you find random incentives and variants and things like that, and that's where I found this. And the art just grabbed me. I had no idea at the time that this was Jeremy Bastian. I just knew that the art was awesome, and I just grabbed it out of a box because, again, here, I'll try to give you a little bit of a zoom in here. I mean, it's just the feathers, the little details everywhere in here, the textures. It's, again, not going to keep beating a dead horse with my praise, but this book is another one of those toughies. So when I went to look to give you guys a market, I couldn't find any copies sold or available for this thing. So I don't know how tough it is. Like I said, I found one and I found it for cheap in a box. So if I did, somebody else can. I'm not that unique. I just got lucky. One of you guys can get lucky too. So just go look and maybe you'll find it, because chances are some of you probably saw this book and just didn't know what it was. And now hopefully I've given you some sense of what it is and the possibilities around it. So I don't know, because who knows? If I were to list something like this, what I could list it for, I could probably easily list it for $100. It would probably sell just for randomness. Could sell for more. Could sell for less. Could never get sold. Who knows? All I know is I liked it. I bought it. It's in my collection. It's not going anywhere. But the possibilities, if you look. So go out there, go digging, and go check out Jeremy Bastian's work, because, like I said, it is just phenomenal. That's it. We're going to move off of the artist part, the artist retrospective, but we're going to kind of tie into our Labyrinth here. And we're going to go over and shift to something I usually say for the end, but we're going to go right into nostalgia right here, because dealing with Labyrinth, I think, is a good segue into these books that you can find, if it's not the incentive. The regular books are kind of interesting. So we do have this recent series, the Jim Henson's Labyrinth, out of Archaea. Again, same publishing company that was publishing Cursed by Our Girl, the recent run. And you can see here's the cover A. And we also have this awesome cover B here. It almost looks like a Where the Wild Things Are cover. I forget who the artist is on this, but this one is also really detailed and really fantastic. So I don't know. I like it. I do not have this one. I'm on the lookout for it. So I'm going to see if I can find one. I'm going to look, check out my shops and see if I can get lucky. But Labyrinth, Under the Spell, this mini, I think it ran like 12 issues maybe. But this is issue 1, the A and B cover. You can see most of the examples I have sold are the B cover, which sell for about $8 to $12. And then available copies for either are about $3 to $8. And then look, there's a pair for 10. So again, it's not super duper expensive. This stuff is just out there. But if you're interested in Labyrinth, it's something to check out. I remember it, and it was kind of a creepy little thing when I was a kid. So it's just one of those things. Again, nostalgia. So nostalgia still sells. At least to me, I'm still interested. And if you want to get back to the original run, there was the adaptation that came out of Marvel, I believe. Yeah, Marvel back in 1987. This 3-issue run for Labyrinth from the movie. So keep an eye out for these two, because these, others are looking for them as well. It's not just me. So there's 1, 2, and 3 to give you a sense of the 3 covers that you might be looking for, and the pricing on these things. Again, it's not going to be super duper expensive, but still, $12 for number 1, 1 and 2, $26, and then issue 2, $18. So individually, these can all be about $10 to $15 if you can find them in decent shape. That's about what you're looking at. And then available copies, the whole set, looking for $75. And then individual number 1's 15 to 20. And then there's an issue 3 asking $38. So that's just some examples of what's out there, pricing. So like I said, anywhere 10 to like $20, $10 to $25 each, maybe even. So who knows? So if you find it, maybe you found something really cool and you might got lucky. And you're going to find somebody else who's looking for Labyrinth. Because again, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. If you, as a kid, if you know, you know. If you don't, well, it's just one of those oddball things. Like our next bit, the Dark Crystal, which I will freely admit scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. Those like puppet Muppet things, the vultures, like they were creepy. They were creepy and they scared me a bit. Granted, I was little. This came out in the early 80s, but still, these things were creepy. Dark Crystal 1 and 2, also out of Marvel. These adapt the movie. 2 issues. There's only 2 issues for the 1983 run. So again, keep an eye out for them. There's people who, who are still looking for them. It's not expensive, though. This is much cheaper than Labyrinth. This is like $3 to $8, and you can find the sets together in some cases, even for that price. And then available copies, again, $4 to $7 individually, and then maybe $20 for the set. All right, it's not terrible. But again, nostalgia sells. So this isn't the only run to look for. This also came back in 2017. Feel like it wasn't that long ago, but yeah, 2017. So 5 years ago, Jim Henson's Power of the Dark Crystal. Simon Spurrier was writing this, and this was a 12-issue run. Again, Archaea, covering this nostalgic type stuff. This was a 12-issue run. Maybe I was wrong about the Labyrinth. Maybe the Labyrinth wasn't. I don't know how many issues Labyrinth ran for, but this was definitely 12. This was definitely 12 issues. And as you can see, there's the A cover, which I believe was done by Jay Lee, and then there's the B cover, which was done by Sana Takeda of, if I'm saying her name right, Monstrous fame. So she did, I think, some variants here as well through this series. So again, fantastic art. And again, another one of those fine, detailed artists that I'm in awe of. I don't know. Like, again, I tried my hand at being an artist when I was a kid, thinking I could do it. And I gotta have mad respect for some of the fine level of detail, just the control you have to get those lines right. You don't get a second chance in a lot of cases. So getting those lines right the first time is completely impressive to me. That said, moving on to the pricing for our Dark Crystal here. This one, I couldn't find any sold copies of our number one. Just again, trying to give you an example. But I can see asking prices for this are $12 to $20. So still, it's kind of interesting. There was also, I remember, a one per store that I did get a hold of. It's got like a version cover with the Dark Crystal on the cover. Keep an eye out for that too. Shops might have it. It was one per store. That seems to do all right as well. And there were some incentives and some other variants. But that's just the A. You can see even just the A and the B. You might make a few bucks, especially if you find them in a dollar box. So this is just one of those things. Maybe go dig them out. Dig them out for cheap. And with that, we're going to pivot on over to video games for another completely different segment. And we're going to look really quickly at Legend of Zelda. So, as you guys probably know, back in like 1990, Valiant was making comics, and this was before they were making, the Valiant universe of Harbinger and Exo Man of War and all that stuff. So before they had that license, they had the license for Nintendo. So they have that Mario book, the Captain N, Game Master, and they had a Legend of Zelda series. Ran 5 issues. Keep an eye out for any of them. I remember one shop near me, Stormwatch, had them, and they were relatively cheap at the time. And I thought about it. I probably should have bought these and the Marios at the time, but I did not. Along with, he also had a huge run of Sonic, and they were all very, very cheap. And again, I didn't get them at the time because that's not what I was into. It's not what I was looking for at the time. I was still, stuck with the normal Wednesday worrying, I guess. So I hadn't expanded in my my interest to that point yet. So I do remember them, though. I do remember them in those boxes, and I regret not getting them. That said, Legend of Zelda. Let's take a look here. Issue 1, first in the series, $81 up to $176 raw. Then there's an 8.5 graded copy that sold for $86 at auction. So, I mean, it's not a 9.8, it's 8.5, so it's kind of tough to gauge the pricing, especially at auction, because, who knows when that thing went off, how many people, could have ended like on a Tuesday morning. Sometimes when auctions end at odd hours, they really don't hit the highs that they could if they maximize the eyes on them. Like, I think auctions ending like Wednesday nights and Sunday nights probably do the best. That's what I hear. Other people tell me that. So I've seen it, and I've seen most of the auctions kind of ending in that area. And I do notice that when they do end on off hours, you can tend to sneak them for cheaper. So just something to keep in mind if you go with listing, not to list at oddball times. Available copies on this, $150, $160 raw. And then you can see there was one. It should be ending tomorrow on Tuesday. It had 4 days left at the time I grabbed this stuff. And then I grabbed this stuff over the weekend. So it was $61 at the time. It still have a day left after you guys see this tonight. And who knows where it's going to end up. But that's what we're looking at for available copies of issue 1. We're just going to run through. There's only 5. So I'm just going to give you a quick sense of all of them. Issue 2. So this way you also get a sense of if you find any of them, do you want to buy it? Do you not want to buy it? You know kind of what the price in the market is at, depending on what the shop might have it listed at. Because again, I'm not saying you're going to find this stuff in all dollar boxes. Granted, you might. What I'm saying is you might find this priced at a shop and priced at a spot that is intriguing and interesting to you. Because copies of issue 2 can sell for $25, $30, some best offers, then best offer on $200 for a 9.2. So if you find a nice copy in a box and it's priced like $5 to $10, maybe it's worth picking up for $5 to $10 because it sells for a bit more than that. Who knows? That's the kind of thing. It's decisions for you to make for yourself. I'm not trying to spend your money. I'm just trying to give you the sense of the market and show you some books that I think are cool and let you know what they are in case you stumble upon them when you're out there digging. That's the whole point of doing this. I just like talking comics and I like talking about some of this weird stuff and I like sharing some information and sharing some things you guys might not know. And if you do know, spread the word and hopefully you found it interesting still. That said, available copies on this one again are like $30. So issue 2 is still selling 20, asking about 30. So keep that in mind. I dig the cover for issue 3 here. Just I don't know, it's a classic. You got Ganon, I guess, there in the background. You got Zelda there in the front. Link, pretty cool. This is issue 3, and these were $2 when they came out. So you can do better than that if you find them today. Granted, copies sold on this one about $13.50 at auction, and then there was a buy it now at about $30 raw. And then you can see there was a lot of 2, 3, 4, and 5 that sold for best offer on $120. So maybe $100 there, which would still average out to about $25 a copy. So I'm just guesstimating. Also, I don't know exactly what the best offer was accepted. They could have accepted $50 for all I know. I'm just saying, best case scenario, most times it's like a 20% markdown on a best offer. So that's kind of what I gauge it at. So anyway, moving on to available copies. Available copies of this 20 to 40. And then you can see a lot of, I think that's 2 and 3 here for $50. So once again, all in that kind of $20 to $30 kind of range for any of these issues so far. And I say so far because now we have issue 4. Issue 4 here, you can see a little bit different. You got the little above and below, kind of cool little line drawn there. This one, however, copies have sold on issue 4 for about $75 to $85. So issue 4 is a little tougher probably to track down as you get later in the series. Asking prices on issue 4, $95 to $125 raw, and then some 9/8s looking for $300 to $500. So once again, keep that in mind in case you find it in the shop and you go, well, it's not issue 1, it's issue 4 of Zelda. What do I want this? They want $20 for this? I'm not buying this. I don't know. $20 might be a good price when you look at this, right? So that's, again, why I'm giving you this information so you can make that call depending on what you find. I don't know what you're going to find at your shops. I don't go that far around the country. I pretty much stick to my Philadelphia area, Jersey side of things. And I don't go far beyond that unless I'm on vacation somewhere. But that said, final issue. Let's get to issue 5. There it is. Purple cover here. You would think that now, well, if issue 4 was going for that much, 5 must be even more insane. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And it's still better than the issues 2 and 3, but it's not quite the levels of issue 4 for whatever reason. But still, copies sold $50, $38, $57, all at auction, mind you. So keep that in mind as well. And some of these had 15, 16 bids on them. So a lot of eyes, a lot of action. People are interested. Like this is not an unknown thing. There are people who are looking for these actively. So keep that in mind as well. And asking prices on the issue 5 purple cover for Legend of Zelda. Again, it's 40, 60, $75, all raw copies. So good luck if you can find any of them. But as you can see, issues 1 is probably the gem, and then you got 4 and 5 next up, and then 2 and 3. But even 2 and 3 are still $20 to $30 books. So if you find any for cheap, grab them. Is all I'm saying. Next up, we're going to hit the variants. Now, I know usually this is earlier in the show, but we're doing variants now. Why? I don't know, I just felt like it. And what we're going to talk about today, I think I got some 1 in 10s and maybe some 1 in 15s for you. We try to keep it on the lower end of the incentive ratios, things that are more reasonable that you might actually still find in a shop because shops might have them because the ratio was lower. So, Dr. Doom, number 1. I think we've talked about this book before. I think I talked about the second prints, which are also pretty cool if you could find them for this run. But the 1 in 10 for issue 1, this is a Mike Diodato cover, I believe. Yep, Mike Diodato, see his signature there. And this one does all right if you could find it. I dig it. It's $20 to $40 raw, and looks like a 9/8 sold for $125. Not terrible. So I don't know. I'd be definitely down if you can find it for ratio, maybe even a little bit more because it's kind of a cool cover. But and there are higher incentives than this. I'm just showing you the 1 in 10 because again, it's one you might see. You might see it in a shop because it's easier for the shop to qualify. Asking prices, however, about $30 for the raw copies, and then there's a 9.8 looking for $225. So asking prices are still pretty close to those sold prices. So the pricing is pretty consistent here. So depending on what you find, keep these prices in mind. Now we got another 1 in 15 for you now. We're going to go to Scarlet Witch. another series. I know a lot of people aren't thinking Scarlet Witch anymore because WandaVision's long dead and over. Everybody's poo-pooing all Marvel spec and all that stuff these days. And hey, I'm not talking about spec. I'm just talking about comics. And I like comics that are weird, interesting, and in some cases hard to find. And a lower printed series like Scarlet Witch that has incentive variants this late into the run, like issue 7, these are things I find interesting personally, which is why I look into them. Sold copies of this 1 in 15. Sold for $20. So not too bad, a little over ratio. That was earlier in November 4th. And then available copies on it, about $20 to $25 for 1 in 15. It's not terrible. It's just one of those things. Now, issue 7 also had a different variant that was not an incentive. And I want to talk a little bit about this one, kind of broach the topic. And I know other people have mentioned these books before, but the story thus far variants are very interesting in that I think they're mostly qualifiers, but you're not going to get a print run. So you don't know exactly how many of these might be out there. You just can gauge. Some of them seem to be more plentiful than others because shops may have ordered more copies based on the cover, based on whatever reason, than others. An example here is, again, Scarlet Witch number 7. This is the story thus far variant. And the idea behind the story thus far variants really was there's a lot going on this cover that's hitting up a lot of different points of catching you up on the story thus far. We're 7 issues in. This is what's been going on in the Scarlet Witch. You got the witches burning down here, and you got the cities, and all. They're just trying to give you a sense of catching you up. So, no copies I don't think I found sold recently for this book, this story thus far. And you can see it up here up the top. This is what I'm talking about. You can see that it's listed, the story thus far variant, right there on the cover. And a lot of Marvel books have these. It wasn't like 1 month that they did these. They were just kind of staggered and scattered out there around the same time frame, but a lot of different titles, and a lot of them are tough. Some of them are very easy. So it's not like you don't get just every one of them. We're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper. We'll hit up on these on another show later on, or we'll just get randoms as we go through. Because I got plenty of books to talk about. That said, not to linger and belabor the topic too much, we're going to go to available copies here, and this is again $20 to $30. So $20 to $30 is the asking price for this. What is in essence like a B variant for this title? That's realistically all that it is. It is a variant cover that's not an incentive. How many shops might have ordered or how many shops got a hold of this? Don't know. All I know is it's a little bit tougher to find than most. Now, I got another book to share here. This is a 1 in 15. Dark Reign, Sinister Spider-Man, number 1, 1 in 15 variant. Also another Mike Deodato. So I was kind of tying it in there with that Doctor Doom. We're doing a Deodato cover. And for some reason, I feel like I was talking to Drew about this from Wanted Comics when we were out in Baltimore. Like it was one night we were drinking, and I think he was talking about this book. And I was like, I don't know that one. And I looked into it and was like, oh, I do like this. It's a pretty cool cover. The black dipping into the red, really cool. And I'm pretty sure he's the one who told me about this book, but I'm not 100% positive. So we'll see. Doesn't matter. I'm just remembering as I think I remember. But regardless of that, this is a 1 in 15 that, you should keep an eye out for because it's a really cool cover. And 2, it could sell for pretty cheap. Look, one sold for $5 at auction. So $5 at auction. And then there's one of those weird listings that says $1.95 to $26.95 because they have like a whole bunch of different comics listed that have unrelated. I just put that in there because those things are annoying. They're annoying for me as a researcher because I got to go digging in to find out how much it is. It's just not worth the effort. So I don't know, just a pain in the ass, those listings. That's it. And plus, how much are you actually saving by doing a listing like that? I don't know. Anyway, $5, one sold for, and then asking prices, however, on this thing could be anywhere from about $16 to $30 up to $50. So this is one of those pretty cool variants, I think, by the cover art alone, that's going to draw interest. And there may be cheap copies, as we can see there with that $16 one. I'm not sure if I bought that or not. I might have bought it, but I don't know. It could still be there, or I might have bought it because I did buy some stuff this week when I was doing research for this and Chasing Ghosts. So we'll have to find out. I can't even remember half the time what I do. But that said, those are the available copies. And we're going to get into, I think, our final topic and our final segment, later prints. Again, another thing I like to cover on the show because some of these are interesting. Some of these are, I know a lot of people hate the second prints, the reprints, because that's what they are. They're reprints. Let's not consider, I mean, you can call it variant all you want, but they are just reprints. I'm well aware of that, but I still like new cover art. So in that sense, I do like collecting some of these for the right price. That said, here are some fun ones, including That book we just talked about. Sinister Spider-Man #1. This is the second print cover. Yeah, pretty cool, right? And it looks like it's pulled from the inside. I think this might be pulled from the inside. Looks like a Chris Pachalo. Anyway, this is the second print for Sinister Spider-Man. This one does okay. Sometimes you can see one copy sold at 3 bids for $2.43, while another one sold a couple weeks before for $16.50 with 17 bids. So don't auction books like this. It's just not something people are looking for. You're going to end up selling a copy for $2.43. However, if you're shopping for books like this, check out auctions because you might be able to sneak one for really cheap. You just never know. Throw a bid down. And say, you know what? I'll take this book for $5. If it goes over $5, I don't care. Throw that $5 bid down. Who knows? Maybe at the end you will win, and maybe you'll win it for less than $5. And if it goes above $5, well, no skin off your back. You threw it down. You were willing to pay $5 for it. Took a shot, and it didn't come through. Yeah, the guy who won it for $5.25. Maybe you should have bid more. That's for you to decide. That's for you to mull over and be like, damn, maybe I should have bid $6. Okay, it's what happens. I don't know. Anyway, available copies on this one are anywhere from $12. That's also out of the UK with about $20 shipping. So it's really like a $30 copy. And then one's asking $120. I mean, that's a far cry from $2.43. But hey, that's the market. There's what's sold at auction, maybe underpriced. Here are the asks, much more. So keep that in mind. Another second print to keep an eye out for, Falcon #1. I mean, we got Sam Wilson now as our Captain America. You can get a Captain America 4. Probably not going back to the Falcon. We are getting a new Falcon in that movie, but we'll get to him in a second. But this is just Falcon #1. Second print. Pretty cool cover. $6 to $18 copies have sold for. And then the asking prices here are closer to $20 to $25. So it's just another one of those oddball things where maybe you find a box in an overstock back issue box for a cover price or even less, and hey, might be worth it for $20 to $25 asks. Maybe it's worth grabbing for cover. And next up, like I said, we are getting a new Falcon. Is it Joaquin Torres? I don't know if I remember his name right, but we already were introduced to him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we will get him as the Falcon in the next movie. But here it is. This cover is the same as the first print, but this is the second print cover. This is blue trade dress. That's the only difference here. And it's just one of those oddball second prints that are out there. Sold prices can be anywhere from $6.50 for a CGC 9.6 at auction. There were only 4 bids. Don't auction these things. Meanwhile, a raw copy at auction. That was at the end of October. Raw copy at auction just a couple days ago, it looks like. $32 raw at auction. It's still a wild card when you do auctions. And then you can see there was a 9.6 that sold, just buy it now, for $60, and a raw copy that sold best offer for $25 back in September. But inconsistent kind of pricing. But don't auction like that auction. I would have been upset because that it cost them much more than that. It costs more than that to grade the book. So they're definitely operating at a loss there for that seller. Granted, they might have gotten in a collection and it didn't actually cost them the grading fee, but whatever. Point is, that's too cheap for a slab. Even if it's only a 9.6 of a second print that you might not care about because that's not your deal. But to me, still pretty cheap. Anyway, available copies on this one, anywhere from $20 to $35 to $50. Those are really the asking prices on this one if you go out there shopping. So keep that in mind as well. I got one last book for you, and then we're going to wrap it up for this week. Our last one is another second print, kind of staying in that Captain America realm, and that is Captain America #7. This is the Daughters of Liberty, I think. Also, there were rumors abound that they were going to be showing up, I think, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then that drove this book to get speculated on, and then they made I don't know if that's why they made a second print, but they did make a second print. This is the second print cover, and this book got hot for a bit. Now, not as much, but it's still worth looking for. Copy sold at auction. Again, don't auction these books anymore. 3 bids got it to $8. Meanwhile, asking prices are more in the $30 to $35 raw range, and there's a 9.4 listed for $60. So those are the asks. Again, that's kind of what I remember this book going for. It actually went for more when this was hot at the time, but still, auction may not be the way to go. Just if you want to sell it for less than $30, and sell it for less than $30. Just list it for less. But I don't know. Auction just seems like a very dicey proposition these days, especially for books that no one is really paying attention to. And that's the whole point of this series. I'm not talking about the hot books. I'm not talking about things that everybody's looking for. These are oddball, forgotten things that I find interesting. That said, hopefully you're enjoying this as well as and all the other stuff that I'm doing here on the channel. I appreciate you all. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. Again, if you have any of this stuff, tag me, share with me. I'd love to see in your guys' collections. And especially go check out Jeremy Bastian's art because he's phenomenal. And with that all said, come back tomorrow for Chasing Ghosts, and then come back Wednesday for the tax show. And I'll give you some more details possibly on the 12 Days of Christmas, which you can probably guess. I'm going to give you 12 prizes out. What those prizes will be, going to be a little bit of a mystery for now. That said, thank you again. Appreciate you all. Still having fun doing this. Hopefully you're having fun going through books with me. And I will see you soon with more content. All right, later.